Okay. Hi, my name is Greg Adamson, and I'm honored to be the MC once again. This is like my 14th time out of 15 years, so I think I'm getting pretty good at it. So anyway, this is our 15th annual Veterans Day ceremony at your Bettendorf Veterans Memorial. Thank you for braving the cold and showing up. I want to thanks to all of the people and the organizations that supported us over the past 15 years and who continue to support us today. Next, I'd like to introduce Mr. James A. Horst. He's a U.S. Army veteran and was in the Army Security Agency in the Pacific, and he's going to sing our national anthem.
Oh, say you be by the dawn's early light, once so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose bright stars and bright sun rode the perilous fight. O'er the ramparts we watch were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
This is a surprise event, or part of a thing. I'm going to add about 3 minutes to this show. The photograph on the grill is of my father in Arizona. In 1937. And the Fighting Iowa is the large print, which I have brought today for a gentleman who is probably the strongest advocate that veterans could have. It's for David Woods. David, come up. Dave was always on the front line for the veterans, and I wanted to present that to him before he sneaks out the side door. Hey, take the drop, take the print. Please.
I guess the main thing that I want to say at all these Veterans Days, these Veterans Day events and Memorial Day events, is that we shouldn't do this just a couple of times a year. We have to do this as often as we possibly can, and that means for me, I travel a lot. I'm back and forth to DC just about every week when we're in session, certainly, and I go through O'Hare almost all the time. And I see a lot of folks with caps on that say they're a veteran of one war or another. And what I've tried to do since I've been in Congress in particular, because I served on the Armed Services Committee for 8 years and traveled to Iraq and Afghanistan quite a bit to visit our troops, I try to thank as many of these folks I see as I possibly can. If I see that they've got a hat on, that they're Korean War or World War II or whatever the case may be. And I just hope that we'll do that as often as we possibly can. We think about our veterans and we honor our veterans as we should, but let's never ever forget the families who are there standing beside them, behind them, who are in the United States when those folks get deployed, as so many of our folks have been, and so many of our National Guard in Iowa have been multiple times, including most recently heading off. We saw that send off here in Davenport. So thank you all for being here today. Don't ever forget these folks, and don't ever forget their families. Thank you all.
Good afternoon, everyone. It's Scott County Regional Authority's pleasure to have served, and we really want to say thank you to you for everything that you've done as veterans. You make it the home of the free and the brave for all of us, so what we've done is very minuscule in comparison. But for those of you who aren't aware, Scott County Regional Authority is the board that holds the gaming license for the Isle of Capri. So those revenues that are generated through that are able to be distributed back out through the community. So since 1991, we have distributed out almost $80 million to not-for-profits, government, and educational facilities, including things like this with the lights. So again, it was our pleasure to be involved, and thank you, veterans, for all that you do.
Thank you, Greg, for your service and all the rest of the veterans out there. If it wouldn't be for the park board and the continued support that we have from the city of Bettendorf, we wouldn't be able to do the things that we do here. So we appreciate very much passing on and donating the money that we did for those LED lights.
Thank you, Greg. As a lifetime Bettendorf resident, I know you spearheaded this from the get-go and appreciate it. This is pretty special. My dad's up there along with uncles and friends of theirs and friends of ours, so appreciate all your efforts through this. And appreciate all the veterans that are here today and all through the country and through the world. It's a special day.
Throughout our nation's history, a unique group of citizens has selflessly stepped forward to protect the rest of our nation, bravely ensuring our safety, security, and well-being. And it is that small group, a mere 7% of Americans who have served in our military, who we celebrate and thank today. It is because of their dedication and sacrifice that we celebrate Veterans Day. Recognize and honor all who have placed country above self, all who have determined the safety and security of others was more important than their own, all who have done their duty by taking their place in line, just as generations of military men and women have done before them.
I want to thank all of our dignitaries up here for coming in, Patriot Guard, Gold Star family members, all the veterans, their wives, etc. You guys support our veterans, and we appreciate it a great deal. Don't always show it, but we do appreciate it. You know, I don't have to do a history on Veterans Day or Memorial Day or anything, but just remember, as Congressman Loebsack said, not just today, but every day, thank the veteran. When we were on an honor flight, we just got done with our 42nd a couple weeks ago. There were over 300 children at Dulles Airport thanking our veterans. Most they've ever had there at one time. And they were all chanting, USA, USA. That grabs you. And these guys ate it up, as they should have. And just remember, thank our veterans. It doesn't take much to do it. They deserve it. And I say thank you to all of them.
To those in attendance here, to honor the men and women whom have served in the armed forces of the United States of America, on behalf of the American Legion Post 154, Bettendorf, Department of Iowa, we thank you. A veteran is a person who at some point in their life has written a blank check, payable to the United States of America for any amount up to and including my life. We have served in times of peace and in times of conflict. To all of those veterans, we send you all a thank you from those of us at home, whom appreciate your sacrifice to keep us safe at home. Those of us who have served, we know your sacrifice. To those that haven't, well, I just hope they can imagine what it's like to be half a world away from your home and family when you miss them the most.
I'd like to introduce Mayor Robert Gallagher Jr., Mayor of Bettendorf for the past 6 years. I'm very honored to serve with him on the City Council. So he's going to make some brief comments, but then he's going to introduce our guest speaker. Mayor. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Greg. It's an honor to be here to say thank you to all of our veterans and the families who helped serve this great nation over the years. It's my privilege to be here to introduce to you your keynote speaker, Colonel Brad Cook. Colonel Cook currently serves as the Commanding Inspector General at the Rock Island Arsenal Army Sustainment Command, a worldwide logistics organization consisting of over 35,000 soldiers, Department of Army civilians, and contractors. Colonel Cook and his staff serve as the commanding general's eyes, ears, voice, sometimes conscience, as they assess the command's efficiency, discipline, morale, training, and readiness.
So, Representative Loebsack, Mayor Gallagher, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, fellow veterans, and families, thank you for inviting me to be here today. As a soldier, I've had many opportunities to speak to similar gatherings on past Veterans Days and Memorial Days in New York, Illinois, and Iowa. As a Bettendorf native, after 22 plus years of service, it is a great personal honor to be able to join you here today in my hometown to honor America's truest heroes, our nation's veterans. 6 months ago, we paused to remember and appreciate those veterans who made the ultimate sacrifice in defense of our country. Today, we honor not only those same veterans again, but also the women and men, all of the women and men who have ever served in our nation's armed forces. I'd like to start by asking all veterans present here today to either stand or raise a hand so we can acknowledge them and thank them for their service. We observe this holiday to honor our veterans because of not only what they gave for us, their blood, sweat, tears, bodies, minds, and in many cases their very lives, but also for what they gave to us, the opportunity to live in a free nation as free people. Were it not for the veterans who stepped up in our nation's times of need and defended our freedoms and way of life, we would not enjoy the blessings of freedom we do today. This is why America's veterans are owed a debt that can never be fully repaid. The expressions of gratitude we make to our veterans today, as you've heard others comment and as in these remarks, are far from adequate, but we humbly and sincerely offer them in exchange for all they offered us. Not only do the veterans deserve our gratitude, but also their families who support them throughout their service and their careers. It's much more difficult for veterans to concentrate on doing their jobs when they are in harm's way if they are worrying about their families and loved ones back home. I'd like to next ask all veteran family members present here today to stand or raise a hand so we can acknowledge them and thank them for their service and support to their veterans. And lastly, I'd like to acknowledge and thank a smaller group of family members who have had to deal with the terrible loss of their veteran on the battlefield. These Gold Star families pay the enormous price of futures lost with their veterans. I'd like to ask any Gold Star family members present here today to stand or raise a hand so we can acknowledge them as well. We are sorry for your loss and thank you for your sacrifice. As an American soldier, I proudly represent the greatest army the world has ever known, ready to fight and win any battle to protect our homeland and our interests abroad. The Army's sister services, the Navy, the Marine Corps, Air Force, as well as the Coast Guard, are also the best in the world at what they do, with superior equipment, training, and leadership. We got to where we are today because of past veterans who served with a spirit that still sustains us. That enduring spirit, the treasured values they embodied and upheld, the conspicuous courage they displayed in the face of grave danger, the unbelievable sacrifices they made, is the cornerstone of the legacy they left to us who serve today.
Fire salute for our fallen comrades. Detachment, stand hut. Ready. Aim.